Welcome fucking back, everybody. Yeah. This one was the last.
No, bro.
Yeah.
No,
it
bro.
was.
Hello, everyone.
You wanted to ask some questions about my time on the stage. I actually have my Romeo and Juliet. What do you call it? My little package. My little. Oh, that's a paperweight, actually. Oh, it's from my grandma, actually. It's a water spec paperweight, and it always looked cool. But the program, that's the word I was trying to find. Yes, go ahead. It's a program that that is autographed by all the people from the camp, including my, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, this is like a mini yearbook.
It is like a mini yearbook because it's got all of our photos, names, who we're playing. What's that in there? No, that's a different thing. Yeah. It's actually from my costume. I actually put my costume note there as a bookmark. But you had some questions about it or not?
Yeah. So how often do you do this? This is a yearly thing, right?
Well, it was a yearly thing, but this one was the last.
No, bro.
Yeah.
No,
it was. Well, let me give you the reason why. The reason why, and like pretty much basically, is the people who've had this idea and they've been running with it for 16 great years, they're finally retiring. They got to, they're retiring and they want to enjoy,
So you have respect for them?
Of course.
You enjoyed what you did with them?
Of course. Every year I've been with them was amazing because the first year, well, actually I was supposed to start my junior year of high school. But what had happened was plantar fasciitis got the better of my heels, and I could barely walk that summer. So they were like, well, we wanted you to be there. And then another, friend who was at Northside, he ended up telling me, hey, your spot was actually in place for me. And I was like, really? Oh, well, there's the next year.
Yeah, that feels a bit weird.
It feels a bit weird, but I felt good knowing, hey, I earned my keep and I had a spot at the table waiting. I just wasn't there for it, type thing.
By how many people are involved in
this. Man.
Because, can I show the signatures?
Yeah, show the signatures.
Look how many signing is on this. That's insane.
Yeah, dude. I tried to cram it. Or they managed to cram it. Everybody else managed to write on just the front page, which was awesome. But the first year I got into it was my fresh out of high school senior year.
You're answering my questions.
Yeah. Was the the Two Gentlemen of Verona. That was that one. I played a dad named Antonio, but it was a small role. Before the camp even started, I had my lines down because I only had a small amount of lines.
Do you struggle?
With your lines? Nah, not anymore. Not really. I'll tell you. I'll kind of try to break it down a little bit as I go through. But when I first because I kind of mastered how to do that when in high school because one of the first shows I had, it was pretty long and I didn't know all of them and I felt bad not knowing all of them. So I kind of made it a thing to, hey, the next role I get, I'm gonna try to nail it. So by the next time, I just worked it out and figured out, hey, if I can just say one line, figure it out, okay, remember it, then go to the next one, and then just keep repeating it for every single line.
That's what I was thinking.
That was my process back then, and then I ended up doing that more with the more shows that went on. But going back to the learning the lines thing, I had it down my first time being with this program, and so when we first went, they were like, oh, because it was a different process. I had a new director and everything. So this director's process was we have what the show will look like in another room, taped out, and so where we're going to walk and how much space we're going to have, because not only with lines, because lines are on us.
Yeah, I was going to say, you don't only have to remember lines, you have to remember where you have to be in certain situations on what to do.
Yeah, land on our spot, land on our mark type things, man. And it's enough. And here's the thing, we only go through it once. We only go through certain scenes. He only wants to do it one time. Or in theory, he wants us to write it down and then get familiar with it. So by the next time we do it, it's like point A, point B, boom, boom, boom. But there's always difficulty with that, because what if somebody forgets one part or another part or this thing, or hey, I didn't have y'all looking like this on stage, let me, it's always, a constant process.
Did you ever develop a routine on remembering those things?
Oh yes, because whenever I wrote stuff down, I freaking said, okay, I gotta do this here, I gotta do this here, I gotta do this here, because it starts out with, we get our lines first, so I already had the lines in my head, I just needed to know what I was gonna do with them. So once I already had that, I incorporate what I do, because when I start learning lines, I'm just, going off of what's being said, so I'm kind of freewheeling how I would move and kind of getting comfortable and getting into the character, so when I do kind of have an idea of how it's going to look, I can kind of combine both of those and say, alright, this is the character, how are we going to present it? So it's
interesting.
It's an interesting process.
I'm not like, I've never been in those places. I've been to shows like that in the country. They would do field trips or they would do small events or they would do things similar to that. So
yeah,
but I have so much respect for those people because
thank you.
It's like I cannot do that. Like I know it's harder than it looks. Like for me, when I see those people, I was like, how do they do all this? How do they remember the lines? How do they know?
Yeah.
Like I have a hard time summarizing books, and they have to pretty much read out a book and say exactly what was said.
Yeah, verbatim. Because that's the way I've been taught. Verbatim meaning exactly how it's said. Not one word off, not two words, or say it in your own way. The same way. And I'm like...
sometimes I'm not, the few times I've been to those things, those shows, I'm like, I have so much respect. I'm not even focusing on the show. I'm focusing on how they're doing it. I'm like, wow.
And that was my first year. And that was the thing. I had a small role... But then they needed an extra character to play a background character that had another line. So I came in at the end, which was cool. Then the second year, COVID. COVID struck us, and we were like, what are we going to do? But we ended up settling on, or they ended up figuring out, and producing a virtual camp. So,
nice.
So we did it over the computer. We did... William Shakespeare's A Midnight Suburban Dream through the screens, all on Zoom. And we had a decent amount of people watch us, maybe, I don't remember exactly. I want to say above 20 people at least watch us.
That's a classroom.
Yeah, so it was awesome.
But as if you're then usually get in person, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, way less.
Because, so we had this, and I'm going to be honest, I think a lot of us just read our lines off. Because we were at home and we didn't really have... It just wasn't the same. Yeah. It just wasn't the same. Because usually this is what the camp is. And we kind of got back into it the following year when we did a show called 12th Night. It's pretty much in 3 weeks we put together a Shakespearean show fully. And whatever goes along with it, because there's always something along with the show. Whether it's a musical act, there's different... in my last one there is dancing. And every show there's an end dance as well. So the fact 3 weeks we all do these classes, we do these rehearsals, and we put a show all together, and we also form this bond over these 3 weeks. So it's crazy.
Yeah,
it's crazy. My third time, which was really my second outing, physically, was very, very interesting. I remember met a lot of good friends. A lot of good people, got to show out in front of a live audience too. It was very good, after COVID, to be able to, wow, everybody's here now. It was a one thing when we were talking about WWE or AEW experiencing that, UFC finally getting people back.
You had your own experience.
Yeah, I had my own experience with that. I was like, fuck, welcome fucking back, everybody.
Yeah.
We're back on inside.
I remember the first few concerts I went to. Usually with concerts, after a few songs, people would start sitting down, or the sitting down section. But the first 2 concerts I went to, the people were standing up the whole time. It's bro, we're out of COVID.
Yeah.
Well, we've never left COVID, but we've learned to live with it. We're here, we're having fun.
Yeah, and then
we're together.
And then for that show, we sat 50 people, and I love the way it was set because we also had it live streamed, and the technical people for that year, they got 2 different angles. It was fucking great. Loved it. And then the final year was Romeo and Juliet, and holy shit, it was fucking awesome. I got to play Lord Capulet, and it was so cool, very cool. There was a dance in the middle of the show. There was a dance at the end of the show. There was singing in between.
So there was a lot of things going on in that show.
There's a lot, man. And this had to be like my biggest role in the show I had. Like maybe next to Theseus and when I did the virtual one. But this one was pretty good. So like ever since I got the script back in June, I was just, you know me, but by June I was inside and I was taking a break from all this. And I was just like, I was working it. I was just going. I was going. And then by the camp, I was like nearly done. Like a couple pages away from being memorized. And then a few days went by that first week and I was already memorized.
Yeah, I remember you were busy in that camp.
Yeah, man. It was a lot. And I was also doing social media, which is something I did the previous year. And that was fucking fun. I loved being able to take pictures, use a little bit of my like creativeness for, videos and all these other things and incorporate them over on that side.
How long is camp?
The camp was only 3 weeks.
So we both had our 3-week period around the same time. I found that weird. Not weird, but like I found it funny where it's like, oh, I'm gonna start my thing at the same time where I'm traveling. It's like, and then it ended like almost at the same time. I think it ended like almost a week earlier.
Yeah,
but like it was pretty much simultaneous.
That's fucking awesome, man. So that was my last one, and man, like I got like one highlight I told last podcast was. It's a clip that's going to come out, but I made an Among Us reference in the middle of the show at the request of a castmate. People were throwing gabagool.
Were they like, was that like a joke request?
Yeah.
It was the
last show. So we're like fucking around. Some people
I think if I were in the crowd, I would have laughed. I think I would have.
Yeah, because it's funny, dude. Like
it's so outdated. That's what makes it funny.
Like when you see people have fun, like that's the thing about also being on stage is like you also have to have fun because
you have to be a little loose.
Yeah, because people will see if you're not loose, or people will see if you're uptight. People will see that. But if you look like you're having fun, more or less,
and then the audience will have fun with y'all.
Exactly, dude. Man, it's been crazy. It's been crazy, and I hope to find more.
That's what I was gonna ask. Yeah. Are you trying to find other gigs?
I would love to. Like, I'm trying to. I just need point in the right direction here and there. But
have you ever considered talking to the people that were in charge of
this? Yeah, but mostly, I think they're leaning towards more if I go to school, which is not out of my thinking as well, because at the same time, it would be very nice to be able to go to a school, even though that wasn't my first decision when you think everybody would go to school, but to go back and possibly show my experience and be able to, have a late start, but also, have a nurtured start would probably be great as well.
Hey, so we're probably both going back to school. Well, I'm going back to school like next week.
I'm contemplating. But it's in the works because when I started the first podcast, it was like I'm not going like right now.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Is like,
but now after all this time, now it's like, It's
funny how everyone just comes back to it.
It's a matter of all coming full circle.
Yeah, coming full circle.
Man, it's crazy. But is there anything else you want to ask me about the acting thing? Because
you answered every one of my questions.
That's funny.
Like, that's because I was like, okay, I'm gonna answer how long are the gigs, or did you do different ones? Like, is it every year? Is it a different one? And you're like, oh, I did this later. It's like, oh, he already answered that. Yeah. And then I was like, well, like, are you gonna find other gigs? And it's like, oh, he's answering that right now.
God damn.
So like, you answered pretty much every single
question. That's what's up. And then you didn't even ask like half of, or just one of them.
Yeah, I only asked one question.
Damn. And then speaking of like anything.
And that's all she wrote.